Hey guys, it's RockTheGolem, and welcome to my Q&A. This was supposed to have been out a very long time ago. This was initially going to be my 500 subscriber special, and that's over 1,000 subscribers ago. The reason why it's taken so long for this to come out is not because of me slacking off on or anything, like someone accused me of on my Ask Me page. The hell, guy. I've already dealt with this situation, so that I'm not even going to touch on that any more than I already have. But anyway, the reason why I waited so long to do it was because I was hoping that I would have a few more questions than what I actually do. Really, only 4 people took part in this Q&A. They did ask me multiple questions each for the most part, and one question came from a plethora of people. But I was hoping to have a little bit more to try to make this be as long as possible, even divided up into segments if necessary. But that just didn't end up happening. I even advertised for it a couple more times on Facebook and things like that. Not so much here on the channel, so maybe that's what kept it from growing any more than it could have. But regardless, I promised a Q&A. I want to do some different things on my Sunday videos, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to release this Q&A. At the end of it, if you guys have any other questions you want to ask me, leave them in the comments below. This doesn't have to be the only Q&A that I do. I can do as many of these as you guys have questions for me. So yeah, let's see how this one runs first, and then we'll take it from there. So let's get into it. How did you come up with your channel/username? Well, in actuality, I didn't come up with it. Golem was a nickname that I got during my freshman year of college. I was going to school to be a computer engineer at the time, which turned out to be a big mistake. I switched my major after the first semester I was there. So we're sitting in the common area of my dorm room, and we're just kind of talking about, each other, like getting to know each other, learning about our personality traits and things like that. So I had an RA that probably weighed well over 500 pounds. He was a big boy. And in the process of the conversation, I mentioned, that I had one of the weightlifting records at my old high school was on the leg press machine. The fact that I was able to leg press over 1,000 pounds. It was 1,005. I actually set the school record that was set by my brother the year before. So they didn't believe I was as strong as I said I was. So I looked at my RA, I said, I bet I could pick him up. I could lift him up onto my shoulders like a fireman carry. They didn't believe me. So I had him walk over to me, and he was completely reticent to do it. Like, he was terrified. Because, he's a big guy. Like, stuff like that doesn't happen to people like him. But I had him lean forward and literally put him across my shoulders and squatted down. So all he had to do was kind of fall forward on top of me. And then once he was full across my back, I just did like a squat lift and came bolt upright and had him across my shoulders. Now, it would have worked out perfectly if he had just remained calm, but unfortunately he tweaked out a little bit because, again, this type of stuff doesn't happen to a guy that big. So he ended up like wriggling and writhing around like, oh my God, put me down. And I ended up almost dropping him because it was at the point where he was moving me so much just with his natural body motion that it was starting to like twist my back, and I could feel the muscles in my back start to like pull. So I let him go. I let him drop on the ground, and it sucks that I did that to the guy, but I'd rather him fall on the ground and be okay with like a couple bumps and bruises than to have me completely wrench my back. So after that finished up and everyone made sure I was okay and that he was okay, they were like, wow, that's incredible, and I wanted to prove it even further. So I actually walked over to the side of the couch where 4 of my friends were sitting on, and I squatted down and I reached under the couch and I lifted the couch up and basically tipped it on its side so they all started to tumble onto each other. And it was funny, but I made sure I didn't take it so far that they all got hurt. I didn't want to hurt anybody. But my friend actually turned to me at that point and said, "Dude, you're like a freaking golem." And at first I didn't know what he was talking about because there are multiple types of golems. There's the golem from the Jewish faith. There's the golem in every fantasy adventure, game, movie, novel you can think of. And of course there's the Pokemon golem as well. And of course that was the first one that popped in my head because I figured that's the most popular for at least people because everybody knows Pokemon. So I'm like, you're calling me a Pokemon? What the hell? What? I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult. But he clarified, just because I didn't even have a chance to ask the question. I just had this very confused look on my face. And he turned around and he said, no, think about it. You're a big guy, you're really strong, you don't like to hurt people, and you protect the ones you care about. Like, you're literally like a guardian, like making sure your friends never get into trouble. You're always watching out for them, that sort of thing. He's like, dude, you totally rock the golem. And I heard that, and I'm like, it really resonated with me for some reason. Like, I liked the phrase to the point where I had obviously, I'm in college now, so I left high school behind and everything, and I had usernames from high school, but I wanted something different because I only went to college with, I think, 3 people from high school. And the people that I really knew, I didn't keep in contact with very much, to the point where today, I think I only really talk to about 1 person from my high school days, which actually I'm okay with it. Like, the circle of friends I have are great. But anyway, so it got to the point where that phrase resonated with me so much that I decided to use it as my new screen name, RockTheGolem. And it's funny, too, because I started to use it, like I said, for everything. And when I came onto YouTube, obviously no one thought anything of it, but Golem was actually my nickname. And when I came onto YouTube and I started interacting with people for voice acting, they started calling me Rock, which is kind of funny because it makes a lot of sense. Rock, if you think of a comma after it, it would be Rock the Golem, like a golem named Rock. So people started calling me that as opposed to the actual nickname that I had being Golem. But I chose not to correct them because I wanted to let it take on a life of its own. Golem was the nickname I had for my friends had for me in real life. Rock was the nickname that people were giving me now on YouTube, so I was perfectly fine with it working out that way. But ever since then, I've just let it kind of grow on its own. Obviously, I put effort into my channel, but that is why I chose using that name. It just happened to be the screen name I was using at the time, and I've been carrying on with it ever since, and I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it at any point. Out of all the projects you've worked on, what are some of your favorites? It's really kind of hard to peg down a favorite. I know you asked for some of my favorites, but to be honest, I don't think there's a single project I haven't enjoyed working on. I'm always looking for new challenges, ways to, express the sound of my voice and work on my skills and develop it. The only ones that I really haven't enjoyed are the ones that just seem to kind of fall apart. Not so much because of the other voice actors, but because of the directors. I've been in situations where directors completely flake out and you're involved in a project and they just end up disappearing completely. I had a resume written up, and it wasn't a serious one, it wasn't a real professional one. It was just literally everything I had been in, whether it was published, whether it was in production, whether it was canceled or whatever. I put everything down there. And after I got to 100 projects, I went back and I looked and I went through all of them. And I highlighted all the ones that actually something came out of them. And I think 1/3 of all the projects actually produced something. So it kind of really sat with me poorly, the fact that so many people were looking to do these things, but then they ended up flaking out on them. So those ones I don't enjoy doing because I want to be involved with people who are dedicated. And I know some people are probably going to flame me for this because you remember a couple of months ago, I had to drop out from projects. But it's not because I was slacking off or because I became disinterested. I had to do it. Life had certain demands that I had to meet, and YouTube has always been something fun. It's been a hobby. It's been, just a way to relax and express myself and try to entertain some people. But I'm by no means beholden to it. This is not my primary job. I do have a job out in the world. I have a girlfriend. I have friends outside of YouTube. I also have friends that I've made on YouTube, which is absolutely fantastic. I was never expecting anything like that to happen, but 2 years running now, a friend, Nokon, who lives not even an hour drive away from me, and I have driven up to Canada to meet up with Nikuru-chan 18 and her friends. And if it hadn't been for voice acting on YouTube, those friendships never would have happened. But projects that I've enjoyed working on, and obviously all of the paying ones. Why? Because they pay. Let's get real. But I've enjoyed working on Hollow Tower, the Sim series, Desolation, another Sim series, Games They Play, which is a Super Smash Bros. Machinima. And in honesty, every single clip or project I've ever worked on with BT Dubs, Snarfro Dubs, Pineapple Kiss Productions, any of the groups like that, and yes, I have friends from those groups, and I'm not trying to stroke their ego or anything like that, but I've really enjoyed working on those because it's not just work. It's fun because you're doing it with your friends. And I think that's a real key point about doing stuff here online, is that you're doing it with people that you enjoy spending the time with. And if you have that level of enjoyment coming into it, then you're going to get everything out of it. So, I've named a couple in particular, but there hasn't been a single project that's actually reaped a result that I haven't enjoyed. I like them all. What can I say? What upcoming project are you most excited for? See, that's another tough one to answer. There are a lot of projects that I've actually auditioned for, but aren't really up and coming. Some of the ones that I am working on, though, like there's an animated series called Sketches that I'm going to be a part of. It's a small part, but it's one of those like funny, gimmicky parts, and I'm really excited for that. But what I'm really most excited about right now is, in addition to doing all like the professional acting that I'm doing, is I want to get back into focusing on my channel, which is why last week's video was the open casting call, which I've gotten a bunch of responses to. I hope I get more, and I really want to start sitting down and fleshing everything out and start to work with all these people. It's going to be absolutely great. I know it's going to be. And because of that, I think that's actually the big project I'm excited for, is not so much one thing in particular, but the entire scope and scale of getting all these fan dubs and these, song covers and projects back onto my channel, like the way it's all started out and where everything originated from. But more so to that, it's getting other people onto my channel, working with me on my channel, so that I can bring part of my audience over to them, so that they, the people who follow me can start to follow them and see what they're capable of doing, and maybe even some of their followers coming to see me, and just networking with as many people, as many talented, genuinely talented people as possible, and just trying to help everybody grow and everybody be a part of, I don't want to say like an inner circle, but like an unofficial network where, you look at like Markiplier, who knows Jacksepticeye, but they don't have an official affiliation. Same with Markiplier and the Game Grumps. He's been on their channel a few different times. They've been on his, but they're not, as far as I know, part of any like conglomerate or anything like that. They're just people who happen to know each other that like to have each other on their channel, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the people that I want to bring onto my channel. Is I want them to get exposure from the people who follow me, and in return help get me a little bit of exposure from the people who follow them as well. And it's not one of those things where I know some people are probably thinking, oh, you're just trying to grow your own channel. Well, yes, I am. That's really the point of having a channel. But I'm not sitting there and going like, oh, well, this person wants to work with me. Oh, but look, they only have like 15 subscribers. They're no good. Get them out of here. I look at that as an opportunity for me to help their channel grow, especially if they really do have a lot of talent when it comes to voice acting or singing. People don't know about them just yet, but if I bring them onto my channel, I might be able to get them, however many subscribers that they wouldn't have gotten before. So I'm looking for people to contribute to my channel, but also for me to contribute to theirs as well. So that's really what I'm excited for, is to try to build this real network. And that is a big project in and of itself. And honestly, I think that's what I'm really most excited about right now. What kind of microphone/equipment do you use? Well, it's kind of hard to see it because I got the eyeball here on top of my microphone. But if you look at the apparatus right here, I use a standard USB Blue Yeti microphone. They do make, I believe it's called Yeti Pros, which rather than being silver like this, it's actually black, like similar color to the eyeball. And it has not only the USB connection to it, but also an actual, what is it called, a XLA, I think it is. It has that connection as well, so you can actually plug it into a sound board and do all your manual adjusting and like that, which I think may be the next step for me. I'm not sure when and if it's going to happen. Well, it probably should, but as of right now, I'm perfectly happy with this. Everything I've been able to record, I've been able to keep nice and clean with the setup I have, the software I have, so I'm not looking to get rid of this microphone just yet, but that's the microphone I'm using. I do have one of the Blue official shock mounts attached to just a standard boom mic stand. The stand was just a generic one I got off of Amazon for like $25. The shock mount actually, like I said, does come from Blue and is the one that's designed to fit onto the Yeti. I do actually have, you see this little wire right here, like this spring wire? That is the Blue Pop. I love the Blue company. I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh, well, you don't have to get it, but you can get this instead, or you can make your own. For a while, I actually did. I had one that was made out of one of those sewing circles with some pieces of nylon leggings that I cut up and wire and pressure clamps. that I had attached to my old microphone, which was the Blue Snowball. Yes, I love the Blue company. Leave me alone. But I was using that pop filter up until most recently when my girlfriend got me this, which is the Chaotica Eyeball. They talk about the fact that the eyeball was really kind of designed for like trying to like record or podcast in, kind of a public setting where there's no room treatment whatsoever. It's not really designed to be a room like an exclusive room treatment. Like you can't just have, bare walls and everything, which if you kind of look around, that's exactly what I do have. I record everything in my bedroom using the Chaotica Eyeball, and it's the filter that it comes with to help keep all my sound clean and to keep ambient noise out. It's been working great, honestly. It did change up the sound of my voice a little bit. It seemed to have given it like a more like wholesome sound as opposed to the very straightforward kind of sharpness. This one seems to round it out pretty well. Some people like it, some people don't. I wasn't a big fan of it at first because of the way it sounded, but the more I used it, the more I got used to it, and I like it now. I really do. This was a great investment. I recommend this to anyone. The one downside is that this is not typically designed to fit onto the Blue Yeti. In order for me to put it on, if you see up here at the top of it, the apparatus of the microphone is too wide for the opening of the Chaotica Eyeball. So what I actually had to do is I had to go through and actually slit the inside so that it would open up more and actually fit around the microphone. It does make it a little difficult to get to some of the controls. Like I can't really get to the omnidirectional one where, it's the single setting, it's the, surrounding setting, it's the interview setting. I don't remember what the actual names are. It's like omni and cardioid and things like that. I can't really get to that one because it's here inside the eyeball. The only way for me to really get to it would be to take the pop filter off and actually kind of like dig inside and tweak it that way. I do have access to the mute button and to the volume control for my headphones, and I can touch the gain control at the bottom. Wait, which one is it? I can't see. Actually, the gain is at the top, so it's the gain that I have a difficult time getting to. The control setting, I really don't even need to touch because I'm only ever going to use the omnidirectional setting. But for the gain, if I ever need to tweak it, I got to, like I said, dig my hand in and really do it that way. But that's it for actual physical equipment that I use. Unless you're really interested in the webcam that I'm using, which is a Logitech something. I'm not sure which. Oh, there it is. It's actually on my other screen. It's the Logitech HD webcam C525. I'm not that thrilled with it. I was really kind of hoping for something a little more high quality, especially when they said HD, but if you look like this really isn't HD. I don't know if my settings are bad or if I need a better camera. Like, this is a webcam. It's by no means like an actual like HD camcorder, which I think is going to have to be the next logical step if I want to do things like this. So yeah, that's it as far as hardware goes. For software, I initially started out using Audacity, which is free to download online, but I eventually upgraded to Adobe Audition. I got a free trial using it. I loved the way the program worked, so I went ahead and I got a license for it. It's been absolutely great. And as far as video editing goes, I originally started out using Windows Movie Maker, and that is such a pain in the ass to use. It's really finicky with what files you can put into it. It really doesn't give you a whole lot of freedom with, the editing you can make, the choices you have, or things like that. It was such a pain in the ass, and anywho, I'm glad to be rid of it, and I can't believe I used it for as long as I did. So I've actually updated to Sony Vegas Pro 13. It's a great piece of software. Again, you have to pay for a license for it, which is fine, especially if you've ever worked with Windows Movie Maker. It's money well spent. It's just an absolutely atrocious program, but Sony Vegas is fantastic. There's not as much you can do, like if you're using Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects. It's a little harder to work with something like that. It doesn't have as much creative freedom, but there's enough, especially for something like this on YouTube. I can get away with it no problem at all. But yeah, that's basically my setup right there. If you have any questions, like I said, I'm by no means a sound technician or an engineer or anything like that, but any other questions, I'll be more than happy to help you out with them. What capture card do you use for your gaming videos? I actually don't use a capture card. The reason being is because I don't play any games that aren't on the PC. I do own a Wii, I own a Xbox 360, I do have a 3DS, which I know there is a way to link it up to the computer to record, but I haven't looked into that in particular. I've seen other channels do it, and I may look into it at some point, but who knows? I'm not sure. I was originally using Open Broadcaster to capture all my video here on the computer, which it doesn't require a card at all. Obviously, you need a good graphics card to play the games that you're playing, but the Open Broadcaster software just captures the gameplay as it's happening, records it, and converts it into a file for you. Now, recently, very recently actually, since the relaunch of my channel, I switched over to the GeForce Experience Shadowplay software, which, just like Open Broadcaster, it's free to download. You go on NVIDIA's page, you download it right from them. It has saved me so much time and so much trouble. It's taken me a little bit getting used to it, but it's been worth it. The reason being is because Open Broadcaster could record in 2 different file formats. I believe it was FLC and MP4. Now, Sony Vegas loves working with MP4, but for whatever reason, the MP4 that Open Broadcaster would produce wasn't compatible with Sony Vegas. So what I had to do is I actually had to go onto the FreeMake webpage, download the video converter from them, and every single time I recorded a video, I'd have to put it in there and have it reconvert into a compatible MP4 file. And it just added so much more time to the process and took up so much more space on my hard drive. On top of it, the settings were really finicky. Like, there were numbers for all different kinds of settings where, like, if you're not an audio engineer or a video engineer, you have no clue what the hell they're talking about. Shadowplay is very simplistic. It's what resolution do you want to play at, how many frames per second, how many megabytes of data do you want, and essentially you just press the record button and you go. There is no way to change the audio setting, unfortunately, at least not that I've noticed. But what I've been doing is systematically figuring out what the audio setting should be in-game and on the microphone setting on my computer. And it's been a little bit of trial and error. Like the first couple of episodes of Batman, Arkham Knight, and Witcher 3, the audio was kind of wonky. I think I've got a handle on that finally. The formula I typically use is that I have the master volume turned down to 15% out of 100, and the music volume is turned down to an additional 30% out of 100. So those are the settings that I've been playing with for the most part, and it worked out well, at least when I was using Open Broadcaster. So I've been trying to apply those settings, but it's kind of hit and miss, and especially because each game has its own individual settings. Like Batman didn't have a master volume setting, but it had each individual one, so I brought everything down to 15%, and then, you know, the music's supposed to be a third of that as well, so I brought that down to 5%. And I've recorded episodes 3 and 4 for Batman with those settings, but I haven't had the chance to listen to it yet because I'm trying to get all this recording done in one day. This is the last thing I'm going to be recording today. I've already done 2 episodes of The Witcher and 2 episodes of Batman, so I've got a lot of editing to do tonight, and so I'm trying to get this done and wrap it up now. But yeah, take a look at Shadowplay, take a look at Open Broadcaster, figure out which ones that you like, if you don't like, and go from there. That's the best way I can explain it, is test them out yourself. See what works best for your system, and obviously it's going to be very system dependent on which one you're going to want to use. As far as capture cards, though, getting back to your original question, as I said before, I don't use them. If you want to try to work with a capture card, you know, pulling game footage off of a console, you're going to have to look somewhere else, because unfortunately I can't help you on that one. Sorry. Wow, okay, so this has gone a lot longer than I thought it would, and I've only gotten about halfway through the questions. The funny part is that the rest of my questions all come from Tierra, also known as TadyFuzz12, if you guys remember her. She's the director from Desolation. So yeah, Taylor, you're going to get an entire episode all to yourself. Go figure. So yeah, so I'm going to have to end this one here. This is going to be a 2-parter, so I thought I had very few questions, but maybe it's just because I like to be thorough with my answers. But this is turning out to be a little bit better than I thought, so awesome. All right, this will end part 1 then. I'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.